Hey guys, long time no see. I've got all kinds of excuses why I haven't been around the past few weeks, and we might talk about those in a separate video, but today's video is going to be about Milo Harvest. And this is kind of a cool thing because the Milo that we are going to be cutting, hopefully we're going to be cutting it, this is our first cash crop harvest that Dad and I are doing. The last cash crop that was cut here was wheat, and that was in, I think, 2005 or 6, maybe in 2007. So it's, been 17, 18 years almost since the last cash crop was cut here. We don't farm wheat anymore. What farming we do is really just so the cows have something to eat. And if we enhance, we can see we have a few of our big steers down there on the corner. And the cows are down there on, big finger, down there on that piece right there. So, they got plenty to eat. Everybody's happy. We just got done working cows and calves, actually. So that's nice. Calves are at the other place so that they're not bawling for their mom and vice versa. So we got all that taken care of. Now we can turn around and get this Milo cut. It's ready. It's been ready. But the nice thing about Milo is it's not quite as time sensitive as, say, wheat or rye. And combine's down at the field. It's as ready as it's going to get. The header is fixed. Rebuilt the whole auger finger system. We might go down there and take a look at that and talk about stuff because tomorrow the wind's going to blow really hard. So I'm trying to do most of this video today. Today's Sunday, so we want to have everything ready so that tomorrow, Monday, when the co-op's open, we can start cutting. So, been getting the grain truck kind of ready here for driving around and hauling stuff. We used it a little bit when we were planting winter pasture. We had to haul some rye over to the other place, and it was pretty slick. It worked pretty good, and we were happy with it. But because we're actually going to fill the box full of grain this time, I decided, we probably ought to put some more air in the tires, and we probably ought to grease everything and, do some stuff like that. So all the tires are aired up, not to full. They're all aired up to 90 pounds approximately. And the reason we're not airing them up to 100 pounds is because they're kind of, I'm not going to lie to you, they're kind of sketchy ass tires. I've had several people look at this and they're like, "Oh, those tires are fine. They'll run a long time." I don't think so. I mean, you got like that going on. That's not the end of the world though, right? And most of these tires are okay. They're not great. But if you look at this tire back here, I mean, I don't trust that. And if I can get you under here, maybe you can see, you see that right there? I just don't trust that very much. I trusted it enough to crawl under here and grease that drive line though. And it didn't explode and kill me, so I guess that's good. But yeah, most everything on this took grease. There's only a couple of fittings that didn't, which is surprising. So the fittings that did not take grease were this one right, where's my finger? Right there. That one did not take grease. And where else? Not on this side. I gotta remember here. I think there were 3 that didn't take grease. That front one back there that I showed, this upper shackle mount did not take grease. And I don't remember where the third one was. I don't remember where it was, but most of these did take grease. They took quite a bit of it. I used 2.5 tubes, but that's okay. I'd rather put grease in stuff than replace components. Of course, some of the bushings on that suspension in the rear are shot. I put grease in them as a courtesy. And there are a few little, like in these little U-joints here on the steering shaft and on the PTO shaft, they did not get grease. And the reason why is because one of the things I did earlier this year, I'll do a review of this later, but I bought one of these locking grease couplers, and let me tell you something, this is probably one of the best things I've ever bought. And it works for most things, but when you get into really tiny U-joints on tiny drive lines and steering shafts and stuff like that, that lock and lube coupler, it doesn't like to fit in, and It's a little difficult to get it on slack adjusters because sometimes there's like a little shield, or the arm is oriented just right where it's difficult to get it in. But the slack adjusters all took grease. I got that done. But yeah, stuff like this did not get grease. And some of these linkage joints actually didn't have fittings in them. So like this drag link fitting here did not have a grease point, and then the tie rod end on the other side did not have a grease fitting on it, which it's still tight. It seems like it's okay. That had a grease fitting on it though, oddly enough. Upper and lower kingpins on both sides took grease, which is impressive because on the red truck, the U90, I greased them, and oh man, that was a battle. I don't even think I got much in there. So we have all that taken care of. I need to look at the power steering actually while I'm sitting here thinking about it, because it leaks, but is there? There ain't much in there. It's hard to see because of this radiator hose, but we're gonna go out on a limb and say that probably ought to be filled. So I'll grab the Mercon 5 and fill that. I'll check the oil again. We need to go look at the coolant while we're here. So this thing, it does leak a little coolant. I tightened up some of the bolts here on the radiator, where the side tank mounts. I tightened some of them up, and that actually seems to have slowed the leak down, may have stopped it here. That would be nice. It probably still leaks a little bit. We're gonna go check, and because I overfilled the cooling system yesterday. Earlier in the year I put water in it just because, and then we got some coolant to put in. Now how do I have to climb up here? That's right, I gotta put my right foot there, and it's hard to do one-handed. How much coolant do we have left in here? It went down a little bit. You probably can't see it. It still leaks. It definitely still leaks, but it doesn't leak enough for me to be worried about it, and it won't freeze and break more stuff, so that's awesome. Some other stuff that I've done to this. This was earlier. This wasn't even recent. Everything I've talked about so far, I've done like today and yesterday and whatnot. But let me get down here. I adjusted the clutch on this, and that was a son of a bitch because the adjustment ring was seized. It was one of those value clutches where you have to take this little piece of metal out and you have to pry the adjustment ring around. It's not an easy adjust, so it sucked. I had to remove the exhaust, so I had enough room to swing with a hammer and a piece of sucker rod and beat the adjustment ring. I didn't count exactly how far I went, but I think I went a turn and a quarter on that adjustment ring, because the clutch is supposed to have anywhere from a 1/2 inch to a 9/16 gap between the, I'm going to get my terminology wrong here, between the throwout bearing and the clutch brake. When the clutch brake is up against the transmission housing, there's supposed to be anywhere from a 1/2 inch to a 9/16 gap. This had like a 2-inch gap, so it definitely was loose, and it desperately needed to be tightened up. So I got that done, and then once I got my gap set, I had to adjust my linkage to set my pedal free play, because I didn't have any pedal free play. Actually, I had too much. So now I've got the right amount. That's about, if I remember right, 1 3/4 inch of pedal free play, which is within spec. It's just kind of a generic spec. It's much better than it was. So got all that taken care of. Something else we were screwing around with was a splitter. So the problem here, getting the clutch adjusted, this thing shifts much better. It does not grind into gear like it did. It shifts pretty good. But here's the problem. The splitter here, you have it down, it's in low range. You kick her up into high range, it leaks. It dumps air right out of this bottom port here. Now this is a new splitter. And it took us a while to get this, took us a while to get the fittings, because I tried to order it out of stock, so I went to Napa, see if they could order it. They couldn't. What we should have done was just go to Southwest Truck in Pratt, Kansas. If you need truck parts, try Southwest Truck, because they've got all sorts of stuff there. They got all sorts of salvage. They keep these splitters. This splitter was $30 at Southwest Truck, if you can believe it. And that is in Pratt, Kansas. They have some branches elsewhere, but their main branch is in Pratt. And they they have a lot of truck parts, new and used, for all sorts of stuff. Kind of get spoiled living in this area. You know, you expect that Southwest has everything, and on the rare occasion they don't. You're kind of mad, like, well, why not? But anyway, the splitter, they had that because we were looking at doing a different style with the switch here on the front, and I didn't want to do that because it required doing the airlines differently, which somebody put enough splices in here to last a million years. There's a splice every 6 inches in this line. But new splitter in, yeah, you kick it up into high range, it just dumps air out of a relief port, and I'll show you in a second what that looks like on the old splitter. And I don't know why it does that, because it switches from high to low range. You can hear it. It clunks in and out almost immediately. And so it's working fine, and it drives fine. It just dumps air out, and it's kind of annoying. But it doesn't leak air faster than the compressor can make it, so I think we're just going to tough it out and drive it to get through harvest here, and then we'll see about fixing it another day. But yeah, that pretty much summarizes the work done here on the truck. It's still gross in here. It needs to be stripped and cleaned, but I'm kind of out of warm days to do it. I don't have time to screw with it now. But it sounds good. Everything runs good. I suppose we can see if it'll start. Right? Still have our oil pressure. Now, well, we'll let it build some air first. Oh yeah, it still smokes. The exhaust leaks too. The exhaust is rotting off of this, but we put it back on just to direct stuff away from the transmission. Because the way that it's set up, if I just deleted the muffler underneath, it just blasts the transmission and the forward drive axle with all sorts of exhaust gas, and that's just not good for stuff. So. Alright, now we're in low range. We should have enough air to show you. Kick it up in high range. It just leaks. And it leaks right there. But you kick it back into low range, and you probably can't hear it on camera, but it switches immediately. So we'll ask somebody who knows a little bit more than us what the heck is going on exactly, but it works, so we're going to run it. My gosh, this thing takes forever to build air. Still smoking. We'll clean her out. I would also like to know if my fan works. What they have set up here is a couple of, I guess, like air thermostats, where when the coolant gets hot enough, I guess it's supposed to switch airflow and kick the fan clutch in. I don't know if it works. The temperature gauge doesn't work, but the truck doesn't ever seem to run hot, so I don't know. The radiator's big enough, and it's cool outside now. We're not in the middle of summer. I guess it won't overheat. I don't know. We're really half-assing this, aren't we? We should do better, but we're not gonna. Trying to see if I can find that coolant leak if it was still dripping, but maybe it needs to be hot. Motor sounds good. See the coolant in there. Awesome. We're not too low. It may have equalized yesterday when we were test driving it. Just wanted to make sure it would still fire up. Yesterday, a couple of batteries were low enough it wouldn't quite turn over. I don't know why, because they weren't super low. I mean, they still had. I mean, they charged up pretty quick, but oh well. On the old splitter here, before I forget, they had a chunk of wire in here instead of the roll pin that it's supposed to have. But anyway, we have that down. So right here, in that little square-looking cavity. Hang on, let me get some light on the subject. If you see right in there, okay, see that little hole? That's where it's dumping air out of. And it was doing it on this one, it's doing it on the new one too. There's one of your part numbers, if you were curious. And the way that this works, this little flat bar here, I'm not going to take this apart to show you. I probably should, but I'm not gonna, because I've already had it apart enough. It's kind of a pain to get back together because you have to hold the seals and stuff in just the right place. But this flat piece of steel has a couple of holes drilled in it so that when you turn it up or down, it directs the air supply where it's supposed to go. The problem is it has a hole drilled in the side on one side that also connects to that port right there. So for some reason, it's just dumping air back out as it's redirecting it. So the internet says that would be an issue with like the slave valve on the transmission that shifts your range. Something's clogged in there and it's backfeeding where it shouldn't. But it shifts fine, so we're not going to worry about it right now. Oh, and this here was what we were going to put on there. Because, you know, why not? Yeah, we were going to put this style on there, but I don't really want to do that because there's 3 ports on this where there's only 2 on this one, and I'd have to do all sorts of stuff that I don't really want to do because that would involve me going underneath on the transmission, and you know, this truck is gross underneath. It needs to be washed, and I don't want to go under there if I don't have to. It was pretty nasty to adjust that clutch. I'm not anxious to go back underneath. So that should conclude everything on the grain truck. It's as ready as it's going to get, I guess. I might sweep out the bed again because I'm a nice guy. I might do that down at the field where the wind's not blowing everything I'm trying to sweep out back into it. So we should be... Well, like I said, we're as good as we're going to get on the grain truck. It should be fine, though. We've taken it on a few test drives, and it drives pretty nice. It shifts good now, and thankfully the batteries aren't dead, so it doesn't have to haul a lot. It's only got to make like 5, maybe 6 trips to the co-op, and it's not even like 10 miles away. And if it'll do that, then we can kind of put it back in the Ford graveyard for a while until I got more time to really screw with it. Oh, I almost forgot. One of the first things we did to this was we got the brakes adjusted and we got the parking brake to sort of work. Now, you probably saw the giant log here that we have blocking this. It's just a safety feature. The parking brake does not work all that well on a very steep grade. So this is angled downhill slightly. The parking brake would hold it on just a very, like a shallow grade like this. But you get on a steep grade, it doesn't really want to work all that well. But the regular brakes, they work fine. So we got that fixed too. I know you were all super concerned about that. Down here at the combine now, because, well, I want to talk about it too. Like I said, the wind is supposed to be worse tomorrow, and it's already blowing harder today than it was supposed to. So tomorrow we're not going to get very good audio. We might as well run our mouth while we can, you know. So the combine here, it needs lots of stuff done to it. I mean, like it needs, you know, brakes, and we need to get it out of gear, and it needs to be serviced, and what else? It needs some other stuff too. We fixed several of the issues, actually. Auger swing cylinder hoses got replaced. That's why we were having trouble with the auger wanting to swing in and out last season. Got that fixed. Got the rear tire fixed because it kept wanting to go flat. So it's got a tube in it. I mean, we didn't buy a new tire. Come on. Do we look like a high-dollar operation? No. Replaced these 2 ends here, male and female quick coupler ends. They're hooked together just to help them not leak even more, but the old ones leaked real bad. And so I got them replaced. We were going to reseal the feeder cylinders, but they don't leak that bad, so we're going to leave them. I mean, we'll get to it eventually. So back to things that I actually did. I mean, it's been greased. I power washed it when we got done with the rye and stuff like that, and we figured out we weren't going to be cutting any rye because the header was screwed up. I power washed it and got a lot of the old smelly rotting grain goop off of it, and that it doesn't smell near as bad now. It still smells, but it doesn't smell near as bad. I'm pretty sure I got everything on this greased that I need to. The serial number on this is, I think it's 32 something. We'll look here real quick. It is 35079. And the reason that's significant is the owner's manual I bought for this. I have two owner's manuals. I have one that's correct, but it's digital and I haven't printed it off. The one that I bought that's in paper is for serial numbers 24,000 and below. And so looking at that for reference on what I should grease and what I should, not grease, there were several fittings it pointed out that are not on this combine. So I don't know if they just deleted them or if I missed them or what, but I'm pretty sure I got everything. The previous owner was a mechanic, and he left some markers and stuff everywhere, just to kind of remind anybody who was servicing this the points that needed to be hit. And we have a leak back here, which I believe is going to be, it's going to be our hydrostat rotor drive, whatever the hell up there. Still leaks a little bit, not bad. Of course, it could also be that valve block there that runs the chaff spreader, because that's not factory. You never know. But it's not bad, so we got all that fixed. I do need to set this. Now, there's no provision in the book for grain sorghum or Milo, so we're going to put it on easy thresh, number 2 here, which is close to wheat. And we asked a guy who's cut Milo before, and he said, yeah, you probably could. Oh, I don't think I need that light on. That's just draining my battery. He said you could probably set it on a wheat setting, and it should be fine. He said just keep an eye out for cracked kernels. If you start getting cracked seeds, then you got it too tight. So we'll just go as needed. But got all that stuff greased there. We're all good there. I'm going to go put the rotor gear case in neutral and adjust this before I forget. The air conditioning does not work on this, which it's going to be mild, 60, 70 degrees, something like that when we're cutting, so it won't be too bad there. I had the heater working in this, but the rats went up there and chewed the hoses off, so that was nice of them. Coolant went all over the place. That should be neutral right there. It's real soft engagement. I know that's high, and I think that's the low setting right there. So we're just gonna, it should be neutral right there. You can turn that concave when the gear case is engaged, but it's hard. All this stuff is greased. All the pivots and stuff back here are greased, except for a couple that I didn't want to crawl underneath and hit, but I don't think we have to worry about it because this thing can't go out of first gear, so it can't really go that fast. Tires have plenty of air in them. Belts and stuff I did not properly check, but they're fine because they've been fine. I mean, as long as, they're getting a little worn like right here, but that's just because we had a plugged rotor in this thing like you wouldn't believe. So when we got done screwing around and we figured out that we couldn't cut anything because you need proper fingers in that auger for it to work, so that wasn't going to work. But we also figured out that the rotor was a neutral, and we couldn't put it in gear because it was seized. So that was quite a process of Dad and I trying to get that thing unclogged. I was bouncing up and down on that rotor wrench for all I was worth, and it barely moved. But we got her cleaned out, so now we can put it in and out of gear and it'll work. Go around here and set this real quick. Clean the cab up because the rats have been in there making a mess. I even cleaned the windows on it. We're going to go up there and look at that because that was a lot of work cleaning those windows. Hang on here. Which way is it to go? I think it's down to tighten it. Or to back it off. There. Is that up? Yes, it is. Let's switch her around here. There. This might be difficult to do one-handed. Nope. There we go. We got her freed up. Now, I don't remember if it's the top or the bottom of the bar that indicates where the setting is. So what we're going to do is put her about in the middle and see what happens. If we need to adjust it, it's not a big deal. How's that look? That looks pretty good. All right, we'll kick that back into high in a second. Got that set. I threw a couple of party favors in here in case the rats decided to come back. I hope they didn't. Oh, one of the other things I did off camera, they had come in here, the rats had, and they chewed off all the wires for like the feeder lift and stuff like that, and so I fixed it. Oh yeah, they've been in there. They ate both of them. Okay, should have brought more. But, you know, honestly, they didn't make as big a mess as they could have, so that ought to get rid of them. Look at how clean these windows are. Somebody did a really good job. Look at that. Nice. So yeah, no heat, no air conditioning, but you got a fan. Dad's going to be running this, so yeah, you know, it'll be all right. I wish that he had climate controls. I tried to get climate controls in here, but I just ran out of time and stuff didn't want to cooperate. Everybody knows how that works. So, get out of here, Fly. Yeah, he ain't gonna. It's still too damn warm out here. Now, for once, I'm not complaining about the temperature because the warm days here let me do stuff a lot easier compared to if it was cold. So, you know, I'm not gonna throw a fit too much. Now, the grain tank here, I thought I saw a stick in it. I don't see it. Nope, I think we're okay. We just need to hop up in the engine compartment and make sure the rats didn't eat anything else off. The other day I was greasing this. I saw that they had eaten off the heater lines that I just replaced. No, I didn't replace all the heater lines, just part of them. So they chewed those off because they're just very nice creatures. And then when I was greasing stuff, I noticed that they had chewed almost all the insulation off of the battery positive cable. So I taped it back up. So what we're gonna do is come up here and see what's going on and make sure that they didn't chew it off again. God damn it, they started to. Little bastards, right there. I don't understand why they can't just leave stuff alone. I hate rats. If it's not coons coming up here and shitting all over the place, which they did right after I washed this, but we had enough rain, it cleaned all that off. But if it's not the coons coming up here, it's the flippin' pack rats. Oh, I hate them so much. Now, what did they chew off in here? Anything important? Not that I can see. Nope. Still looks all right there. All right. While we're here, we might as well check the oil and make sure it's good, because if I have to bring some tomorrow, I need to remember to do that. Should be all right. Oh, yeah. We are good. And we'll look at the high tran because I overfilled it. This does leak a lot less than it used to. Hang on. Close that. Yeah, there are a couple sticks in there. I should probably get those out before we go to filling this. Y'all will chew them up. It'll be fine. It's not a big deal. All right. Let's see about the high tran. I think it's still full. Yep. It's still up there in the screen. It's over full, but it's full. And that's all that matters. So now I don't have to bring hydraulic fluid tomorrow. We've dumped so much hydraulic fluid in this. Well, I would say you wouldn't believe me, but those of you that have run combines, you know that sometimes as they get old, they like to use fluid. Okay, so we're all good there. Now let's go talk about the header, because I fixed it too. I believe I fixed it. So those of you that didn't watch the Rye Harvest fiasco video, and I don't blame you if you didn't, because it was long, and I only put it together and uploaded it because I didn't have anything else to upload. But The problem was, for some reason, not sure exactly why, the eccentric shaft in here that all of these grab fingers run on got bent. And so everything in there looked like this. And so we had to basically cut everything out, and we tried to make some custom fingers that just bolted on and were solid, but they didn't work. They didn't work very well. So I replaced everything in here. It's got a new shaft, it's got new fingers, it's got everything. And it actually works so good that I can walk on it. And it turns evenly, it turns smoothly, sort of. There's 3 fingers right here. They want to hit the deck. We may have to go over on this side and adjust the auger just a little bit, but I think it'll self-clearance. Might be able to show you here. Maybe. You don't actually get as good a momentum on this position as you do the others. Yeah, they're all coming in and out like they're supposed to. And everything turns smoothly. There's no binding, which is good. There is a shaft, the solid shaft that goes from here over to that end. This end of it was bent, so we straightened it a little bit, and I was worried that we may have made it worse, but it actually turned out pretty good. So, barring a few little adjustments, the header is as ready to go as it's going to get. And this past summer, when I had all this apart to fix that spindle shaft in here, I straightened the bats on the reel, so it looks pretty good. Now, let's talk about the Milo. What you see before you is an 85-day Milo planted on July 18th, 2025. It is now November, what is today, the 16th? It's a Sunday, 2025. And it's been ready for a little bit, yeah. Now, this is not really the best representation of it right here because the deer and the birds have been kind of picking at it. But it's only about 20 acres. This was seed that we had for a couple years. The rats had been in it. We just threw it in the John Deere drill there. And the John Deere drill, that's a 7.5-inch drill, and it has 1 plant setting, and that is all of it. And so we put enough seed on 20 acres to do about 120, 140 if we had planted it properly. So we just threw this in the ground to see what it would do. The Milo stalks will be nice for the cows to eat on and pick through, and then whatever's left will till under, and that'll help mellow the ground out a bit. And then whatever grain it makes is just, you know, just a nice little bonus. We don't really have much invested in here. We didn't fertilize any of it other than, well, cow manure from them being on this ground picking. So, yeah, we don't really have a lot invested in it, so anything it makes is better than zero. I could not give you an estimate on how much it's going to make because parts of it are really thick because it came up almost immediately, and then there are spots out in the middle where it's a little thinner. It may be hard to tell on camera, but that stuff didn't come up until a couple weeks after the initial bit. About 40% of this came up within a week of it being planted, and then the rest of it didn't come up until a couple weeks later. So there's no telling how well it's going to do, and then I don't know how bad the birds have been in here and whatnot picking at it, because there's been quite a few birds this fall. The cranes don't seem to bother it, but there have been plenty of other birds that swoop in here and eat on it, so I don't know how much that's going to affect anything, but we'll cut it and I'll let you guys know what it makes. I will do my best to film the combine and the truck and stuff like that, but to be honest with you, like I said earlier, the wind's going to blow even harder tomorrow than today. And Mr. Child Labor and I, at the very least myself, probably both of us, will be out taking the hot wire down because we had this separated off from the cows because the cows were out there grazing. That's why that looks so crappy over there. We're going to give it a chance to recover. We got everybody worked and separated now, so we got the cows over there and we got the calves clear over at the other place, so everybody's happy. They got plenty to eat. We're going to get that hot wire down. When we're done cutting, we'll turn the cows in here. They can eat on the Milo stalks. They ought to do pretty good with that. And yeah, that's the plan. So I'll see what I can film tomorrow, and then when we're done, I'll let you guys know what it made, and we'll just, I guess, end the video after that. Hell, I don't know. Maybe I could talk longer. You you guys like that, right? You click on these videos because you want to listen to me talk for 30 minutes, right? You're going to listen to me talk for 30 minutes no matter what. There's no avoiding it. That's how that works. Well, rats made a nest in there. That's nice. Now, is it actually cutting? Or is it just cutting stuff off and spitting it right back out? Let's see. Well, that was a little short. But no, it's cutting. That's good. If there's anything left here, it's just because it's shorter from where he's cutting it off. But it's cutting pretty clean, it looks like. I mean, like, yeah, that would have been a little short. We may have to adjust the setting on the combine. Right now we have it set for wheat, basically. We'll get a sample here after a bit and see if we got any cracked grains or if we got too much trash. But these stalks ought to be good for the cows. Uh-oh, I heard something solid. We adjusted the auger so that the fingers weren't hitting the header deck, but it's still making clanging noises and stuff. I don't know what's going on. The damn rats. They just can't stand it. Although some of this looks more like coon mess than rats. Oh, hey, look at that. There's part of the manual for the combine. Yeah, that was... They had the original manual for the combine in there, but it had long since been chewed up. Is he still yeah, he's still moving forward. Okay, just going slow. All right, I'm gonna go do some other stuff, then we'll come back and see how he's doing. So here's our first dump. This was one pass around that field, okay? Now, like I said earlier in the video, I think I said that if I remember right, a bunch of this was really thin. It's not a consistent yield. Some spots are much thicker than others. Some spots they didn't put a head on at all. There's quite a few cracked grains in here. There's also some trash from rye. So yeah, we're gonna get docked on that awful hard, but that's just kind of the way it is. Got to clean the combine out somehow. We could back the concave off a little bit. I'm not entirely sure because there's no setting in the book to go off of, so we're guessing. We have it set for wheat. It seems like it's too tight, but if we back it off, it's hard to tell how much of this is Milo chaff and how much is rye chaff. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking more of it's rye than Milo chaff. So we might back the concave off. It might be cleaning the trash out of it. But I'm pretty sure the fan's set on maximum. I don't know, we'll just have to see. Right now I'm gonna get a bucket and we're gonna go get this tested to see if it's even worth cutting, because this does not look as good as it did a couple, 3 weeks ago. The birds and the deer have been out here awful hard picking at this. It looked a lot better. It looked a lot better a few weeks ago. It really did. So we're gonna do that, and then we may just cut this short and call it good. I don't know. You guys hear that? Sounds like a dying dinosaur. There's a workover rig over yonder. That's a sound I've never heard from one of them before. Usually you just hear the motor because they all run Jimmys. But, all right, so it's a couple days from the last clip that you saw. We did take the Milo over and we had it tested. Test weight was 53.8 pounds, which it's supposed to be 56. So that wasn't great. What in the world are they doing over there? Oh my goodness, that's annoying. Moisture was 16%, and a couple days ago it got up to 80, which, you know, for the middle of November is, well, honestly, in this part of the world, that's normal. It's 50-50 on whether or not you're going to get a cold day or a hot day in November. I mean, it's just the way it is. You get into December, it's pretty well guaranteed it's not going to get above 60. But we went and had it tested. Yeah, 53.8 pound. Test weight, 16% moisture. So the test weight being low, the moisture being too high, the co-op wasn't going to take it because the moisture was too high. And honestly, because the price was crap even for Milo, we decided it wasn't really worth hauling in and trying to sell. So we got done cutting, and this is all we cut. It's a little hard to tell. This is about half full. So off of 20 acres, we barely got half the grain truck full of Milo. Now, you might notice there's a larger amount of cracked grains in here. That is because we tightened up the concaves to try and break this open a little more, mill it just a little bit. And what we're going to do here, because we're not selling it, because it's just not worth selling, we're going to keep it and we'll feed it to our cows, because we just took the calves off of them. They could use a little bit of a boost going into winter, kind of through the winter. And this will be something we can give them rather than cake, which just little protein cubes, protein pellets. They're not actual cubes. This will be cheaper than that, and it'll help fatten them back up, because we just took the calves off of them, and they need a little bit of time to kind of recover. You know, the bigger those calves get, it really wears on a cow. So that's what we're going to do here. The problem is we can't store this in the truck, because if we do, the damn coons, the four-legged variety, not the two-legged variety. I mean, you know, I'm white, but I'm not that white. You know what I'm saying? But I probably shouldn't have said that. But anyway, if we leave it in the truck, even if we try to cover it or whatever, the coons will come in here and they'll just tear the hell out of the tarp, and they'll crawl in here and they'll shit all over it, because that's what they did to the rye and the grain cart. And it's just not something we want to do or put up with. So what we got to do is we got to store it somewhere. And we have a grain, well, we don't have a grain bin. We have an old cake bin over at the other place. And you guys have never seen it because I've never really shown it on the channel here. But it's just one of those big, you know, white overhead bins that you drive underneath and you dump cake into your cake feeder. And it hasn't had cake in it for years. I think I was a little kid the last time that thing was filled. So we're going to go put this in there, and because we're going to feed it in like a couple months, that'll be just fine. That'll be a good place we can put it. It'll keep the rain off of it. It'll keep the animals out of it. And that is a good a spot as any for it, quite frankly. Oh my goodness, they're still over there making noise. Man, they got something screwed up on that. They got something screwed up on that. I think I'd rather hear the Jimmy than whatever that noise is. But, all right, so to get this into the bin, well, we can't just dump it out of the truck right into the bin because, well, I mean, it'd be cool if we could, but we can't. So what we have to do is use an auger to get it in there, obviously. Now, we do have an auger, for those of you that don't know, and it's this one right here. Now, the last time some of you may have seen this is in one of the shop improvement videos. It was over there just past that maple tree. And we got it out and we set it over here. We weren't planning on using this until like next summer, but we're gonna try and use it now. It's not really the best. It hasn't been used. I really don't know how long since it's been used. I've never seen it used since I've been alive. Of course, I haven't been alive that long, but the shaft here, well, this isn't a good spot to show you. You see all those little holders that shaft goes through? They're supposed to have some kind of a bearing or a bushing in them, I'm pretty sure, and they don't. So all they're doing is just gonna grind on those clamps right there. Now, thankfully, we don't have more than maybe 100 bushel, maybe. Well, I don't know, it's hard to tell because that truck, that box looks different than the grain trailer. The grain trailer, when it was full, that was about 220 bushel. But anyway, it doesn't have a lot to do. It'll be okay, and then I'll fix it later. We had to delete the wheels because they would not come off. What's supposed to happen is there's a cutter pin here, and you pull that and you take the washer off, and then the wheel's supposed to slide off. Well, they wouldn't cooperate, even with a 16-pound sledge, and so it got the torch. So I'd take those off. We got it mounted on this old running gear because the tires on this were just absolute trash, and there was no way we were pulling it over on them. So this old running gear here used to be a crust buster hoe drill, and the boxes and stuff, of course, have been scrapped for a long time. We kept the running gear for something. Apparently it was going to work good as an auger shuttle chassis. It actually looks pretty good. We got this mounted up yesterday. Had some old U-bolts laying around. Those are the old spring plates from my pickup. So they finally came in handy for something. And I know it looks like the Beverly Hillbillies put it together, but we're going to pull this over to the other place and get it set up, and it should work. It does turn. I had to delete the PTO shield because this wouldn't slide with the shield on there because the shield is metal and it rusted. So that was fun to get apart. And then we fixed up the hitch a little bit back here. I know, again, it looks like the Beverly Hillbillies did it, but it'll work. And so now we have an auger that we can use. We do have the funnel thing that goes on the end. I don't know why we still have it. That seems like one of those things that should have been destroyed or thrown away, but it wasn't. We still have it. So we have all that taken care of. But the biggest problem is, what are we going to run the auger with? Because we don't have a PTO tractor. We don't have a PTO tractor that runs. And this is 540. And what are we going to do? So we thought about it. And initially we were thinking about using that old International, well, you can't see it from here, but if you watch the channel for a long time, you might remember the International sprayer thing that was built that I moved. I'll put a picture of it on screen if you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, that still has the PTO shaft on it, and we thought about maybe limping that over to the other place because it'll start and drive. It just doesn't start and drive very well, and using that to run the auger. But the drive belt for the PTO is gone, and we don't have any spares laying around. So that's out of the question. So then Dad said, well, why don't we just use the combine? And, well, this 540 shaft will fit on that feeder jack shaft that runs the header. It's a 6-sided hexagonal shaft, but I tell you what, it'll fit in here. I took the little stub header drive shaft holder off and test fit it in here, and it fits good. So that'll work. I don't know if it'll turn the right way. I probably ought to check that, actually, because I just thought of that. I wonder if that will all turn the right way, because I'm thinking that tractors turn differently than this auger is supposed to turn. Like, the tractors turn a different direction than the combine feeder house turns, which means this might turn backwards. I need to double check that before we get too far ahead of ourselves. But in summary, what we're going to do, because we have this available for transport, I guess. Yeah, it's special. We're not going to break any land speed records. We're going to get the truck over there. We're going to get the auger over there. We're going to get the combine over there. We're probably going to take the skid steer over there, because this is really hard to pick it. Well, I can't pick it up, actually. It's too heavy because the running gear's on it. I might see about a jack. I don't know if I have a spare one or not, but regardless, we might take the skid steer over, and we'll get all that set up, and it'll be all cool and good, and then we'll dump the Milo out of the truck into the auger and run it with the combine, and then it'll go in the bin, and it'll be real special. So if you made it this far in the video, congratulations. You are about to see some really goofy shit, but we have to make sure that this turns the right way, because I didn't even think about that. I know it turns. That's the plan. When I get done screwing with this, a few finishing touches, I got to go hook onto the tool trailer because it has the air compressor. I'm going to go down and get the combine all cleaned up and blast it out and stuff, get the header off of it, and then run it over to the other place in first gear, because I don't have time to get it out of gear. That's going to be pretty involved, I think. So we'll get all our equipment shuffled over and get everything set up, and then you guys can see just how ridiculous it looks. That was a nasty bit of work, but I got the combine cleaned off, cleaned out. This was the excess crud that was left in the grain tank. I kind of got it cleaned out. I mean, there's a little bit left there in that, well, that door there for the unfill auger that goes up, and I don't even remember what it's actually called, but that'll wash out with some rain when we're all done. So all that's taken care of. I noticed, though, this chain here for the unload auger has way too much slack in it. And because I saw it was flopping pretty hard. So we're going to have to probably take a link out, because it looks like they've got that adjusted about to the limit there. And then I also discovered, because there was some diesel leaking in the engine compartment. I couldn't figure out where. I thought it was one of the brass fittings that went into the filter housing. Oh no, it was our friends, the pack rats. Once again, coming in here and chewing stuff off. You see that? Let me see if I can zoom in. You see that black line right there? That is a return line for the fuel system, and they ate it off. And it's just kind of spraying diesel out all over the, oh, you don't need to be zoomed in anymore. It's just spraying diesel all over the place and making a mess. It's getting on the belt. So it's a good thing that diesel fuel is not overly flammable, because if it was, we would have burned the combine down. So I'll have to get that fixed. I think the grain tank's not 100% perfectly clean, but it's good enough for now. I might wash it out later if I get a warm day, but it's the middle of flipping November. Look at that Milo field out there, nice and cut. Those stalks will be good for the cows. There's still some heads and all that they can go eat. Header's off. I put it on blocks, because sinking into the ground and the gophers popping up and throwing dirt into the sickle sections is not a good thing. Other than that, combine's done. I'm trying to decide if I want to drive this up to the house and then deal with the fuel line, or grab some fuel line and deal with it down here, because I mean, I've already got the trailer and stuff down here. So I got to go back to the house anyway to unhook it. I could grab some fuel line. I think I've got some that's like 1/4 inch. I don't know. We'll see. And it doesn't look like they chewed off anything else there. No, I didn't blast this out just because I'm lazy. I forgot, actually. That's the real reason. This needs to be power washed again. It's gross. It leaks oil down there. It leaks diesel all over the place. I ain't going to get that off with compressed air. I'm going to have to use water, soap and water. But otherwise, everything looked okay on it. So fix that fuel line. We can run her over to the other place. Oh, I forgot that too. Gosh, I suck at my job. In today's episode of I Don't Care If It's Correct Because It'll Probably Work, I have successfully repaired, well, I say that, we're about to find out if I actually repaired it or not. The fuel, oh, better be careful here. The fuel system on this here combine, got a brand new line in there with right, correct, and proper IH screw clamps, because screw the system they had on here. I mean, I may have to put it on. Oh, what's this? Is this normal? That's a cap. Okay. So these return lines here, they're not 1/4 inch, which is what you would think. No, they're 3/16. Well, I don't have 3/16 fuel line. I'm surprised I had 1/4. So it got 1/4, and I just put hose clamps on there and cranked it down until they didn't just pop off with me tugging on them. And that should do for now. It's as long as it's not spraying diesel all over the place, I'm going to call it good. If that doesn't work, oh man, I don't know what to do if that doesn't work, because no one in this county, probably the next 2 counties over, well, the next 2 counties that border this one, good grief, I got to be careful. That shit's slick. Wow, I just about busted my ass climbing out of there. That's what you get playing in diesel fuel and crop dust. It makes this really nice paste. Anyway, no one around here is going to have 3/16 fuel line unless Tractor Supply has like one of those lawnmower fuel line kits, and they have 3/16. See, Orscheln used to have those, and I knew that they did. I think they actually had fuel line that went all the way down to 1/8 inch for like lawnmowers and stuff, string trimmers and whatnot. But I don't know if Tractor Supply carries any of that crap or not. But that'd be about the only thing I could figure for 3/16 fuel line. And then it would be the clear, tubing, which it kind of needs to be rubber so that I can put a clamp on it and make sure it holds. But I did the best I could with what I had. I don't have the old fuel line up here because, it's in the shop. I was looking at some stuff. I thought that this clear tubing, because it's got a smaller outside diameter, might work, because then I could use those little spring-loaded clamps that were on there, but I couldn't. So it got screw clamps, and that's going to have to do. Now, for every problem that we solve, we create another one. For some reason, when I was driving this back here, when you got above 2,000 RPM, it started beeping at you like it was overloading. And I'm hoping that it was that fuel return screwing with the fuel system that was causing engine power to be all weird and whatnot. Because otherwise, it's going to be really annoying. And it was beeping at Dad while he was cutting, too. And he said, well, I basically just revved past it, which that's why we have a giant mess all over the engine compartment. We'll power wash that later. So I don't know. I'm hoping that this fixes it. I was looking in the shop manual to see if you could like turn that off or reset it, but because I thought I read somewhere that it would beep at you if it was overloaded or if you were running the engine too hard. Well, unless driving this around loaded the engine too much, I don't know why it would be throwing a fit, but whatever. The only good news, I finally got this out of gear. I was just like, this is slow. I wonder if I can get it into gear. And sure as hell, it'll go into second gear. I don't know if it'll go into third, but it'll damn sure go into second, which means driving this over to the other place is going to go a lot faster. And I shouldn't have opened my mouth because now Dad wants to drive this to the other place because he drove it back from where we had it delivered, and that was about 8 miles in first gear with the header on the front. So now he wants to drive this since it goes faster, but what we got to do is fire this up, verify that it doesn't leak, and then see if it beeps at us if we try and rev it too hard. Well, if it is leaking, leaking. It's not leaking enough for me to care about. So, we're gonna call that good. It still beeps at you when you rev it up to about 2,000. If you rev it past 2,200, it quits throwing a fit. Gosh, it's hard to climb up here one-handed. There we go. So, right now we got her there. I don't know why it's not. It should be given a number. This used to work. I don't know. Hell, I don't know. It's annoying, but take it all the way to there, it shuts up. What happens if we take it full? Hell, that runs smooth. And see, there we go. You drop it back to, I don't know. I just want to see how low I can go. It's still pretty smooth at 600. I don't, let me say it this way instead of being a moron. I've noticed that when this thing's at full RPM loaded, I mean like all the way forward full, it sounds like it's bouncing off a rev limiter, which there is a rev limiter on this. And it's at 2,700 because by the time you put a load on it, you lose anywhere from 100 to 200 RPM, so then you're sitting at, 2,500 RPM, which is about where it's supposed to be when everything's running and, you're putting grain through and all that. That's where International had it set. But even still, when you've got it all the way full throttle, it just sounds like it's skipping and, like doing this, if that makes any sense to you. And I don't know why. I can't imagine that return line leaking was helping anything, but see, it didn't leak earlier this year, and it would do that. So I don't know. I don't know. But that's fixed. I guess whoever's driving this, either leave it under 2,000 or send her past 2,200. No in between. But it does, like I said, it does go out of gear. Well, it doesn't now because it's not running, but it does go out of gear. It may not go into third, but it does at least go into second. You do have to be a little careful because the brakes are not working. I'm not exactly sure why, but we need to fix those at some point. Not today. This will be good enough to go to the other place and do stuff. If it's stupid, but it works, then it's not stupid. And guess what? This all worked, so it's not stupid. It is ridiculous. I will admit that 100%. So I am sorry that I didn't film any of this as it was happening, but it was late last night, and we were trying to get this done before it got dark. I mean, all the equipment has lights on it. Somehow this truck still has lights on it. It still has headlights and stuff. I don't know if it has high beams, but it does have headlights. I don't know how. The Combine, oddly enough, all the lights, I don't think the upper cab lights there work. Those two, I don't think they work, come to think of it. But the rest of them, the lights do work on the Combine, which is very strange because none of the sensors work, which we've been figuring out. The rats have been having their way with this, and it's really frustrating. We'll add that to the list of repairs that the Combine needs. But it ran the auger very well. I ran it at about 1,600. Of course, the separator and everything was engaged in addition to the feeder, and it didn't seem to bother any. It ran it just fine. the way that this was turning, it was pretty slow. I found the manual for this auger. I was looking last night because I thought, man, I thought I had the manual for this. And I do. It's a Speed King auger. It's an old one. The manual was printed in 1973, so it's at least that old. And it hasn't been used in quite a while, like I said earlier. But I have the book for it, and on there my grandpa had written down that at 800 RPM, this would move 1,250 bushel an hour, which that's pretty impressive. We were not running 800 RPM. We were running maybe 200. I mean, it was pretty slow. It was pretty slow, but it augered everything out of the truck. We moved about 200 bushel out of the truck in, 20 minutes is what I'm going to say. It ran fine. Once you got some grain in there, it got nice and quiet, nice and smooth, and that's in spite of the fact that we bent the auger because we had it strapped to the running gear, pulling it over here, and then we basically just kind of shoved it in position and started cranking up on it, and it needed to be loose down here so that this could move and everything, and we still had it chained down, and so we bent it. It's actually, yeah, you can see we bent it back and it worked. You can actually see it a little bit better on the other side, I believe. Yeah, it's a little bit more noticeable there. That was, I should have been paying attention because this thing was cranking awfully hard. And, oh well, that's what we get for not paying attention. And then we also, I don't know if you can see that on camera, probably not. We dented it right under here, just from where it was resting down there, because it was resting on this piece. And I kind of caved that in a bit, but it didn't seem to bother the auger screw any, which is nice. I'm not complaining. We'll probably try and pop that dent out at some point, not right now. We'll get carrier bearings in it for that shaft so that it doesn't lay through everything, because we don't want that. And otherwise, yeah, the auger surprisingly worked very, very well for not having been used in so long. I'm impressed. I'm also incredibly surprised that this worked without much issue. Any issues we encountered were self-inflicted, and got everything taken care of in pretty short order. So that's not bad. It's a good wrap up to this whole adventure. It is disappointing that we didn't get more Milo off of that field. I mean, 200 bushel off 20 acres is a pretty pathetic yield, but honestly, no more than we did. And as long as that sat, see, it should have been cut 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we got busy with other stuff, including working cattle. That was 3 or 4 days. We had to sort them a whole bunch, and it was a whole production. But we needed to get the cattle done. That was a bigger priority than the Milo. And yes, it would have been nice to sell all of this Milo and get a nice check. But, I mean, not all 200 bushel, but we were hoping 4 or 5 loads maybe is what we would be getting. And it would have been nice to take that in and sell it and get a little check. But hey, that's okay, because we'll feed this to the cows. That'll give them a boost through the winter, which is awesome. That saves us on other types of cattle feed, which can get expensive when it gets cold outside, because we overfeed our cows when it gets really, really cold. And that's better than underfeeding them. So that's not a loss. We have the Milo stocks out there, and whatever the cows don't eat of the stocks, we will till under. That'll help mellow the soil. So yeah, it's disappointing, but it is far from a loss. I mean, we came out okay on this whole deal. It's not bad at all. Plus, we got to test out the auger. We know that it works. And we also know that if we need to, as ridiculous as it is, we can use the combine to run it. Now, ideally, we would have a tractor. If that Moline that we've got, that 602, if it was running, it would be perfect for running this auger. I mean, it would just be absolutely perfect. But it doesn't run, and I don't think we're going to be fixing it for a while, because we have other priorities. So we'll use this, and then when we get a big PTO tractor or whatever for mowing, because we do plan on getting a tractor for mowing, it'll run the auger. You know, if we have to run at a lower speed, not a big deal. Like I said, this barely turned at maybe 200, and I'm guessing it did not turn fast. So that's honestly, that's about as good a conclusion to this whole production as anybody could hope for. And that grain will be nice and secure in that bin. Oh, I will show you though, because I told you this bin hadn't been used in a long time. Oh, if you see that swather in the background, that is a New Holland hay bind, and it's going to be in a future video, just for those of you interested. So look at the number of wasps' nests that were in this damn thing. Dad opened that up, and yeah, they had been busy, little buggers. But there weren't a lot in there that were actually alive, so we sprayed them with some brake clean and some ether because I didn't have any wasp spray with me. I forgot to bring it. Nobody got stung. That is a lot of wasps' nests, though. I don't think I've ever seen them that big. Of course, they've been left alone for a long time. Thought that was kind of cool. So, with all that being said, I think that this is going to be the end of the video. If you guys did make it to the end, I really appreciate it because I wanted to make a video about the Milo Harvest. I wanted to do it a lot differently than I did, but I ran out of time, and I wanted to get something out of it because I know I haven't put out a video in a month, which is really irritating. I had some other smaller videos planned to release before now, but they didn't turn out. And then I got sick, and then we worked cows, and you remember how I said I had all those excuses? Remember in the beginning of the video when I said that I had all these excuses why I haven't been around? I've got so many excuses. Being sick and working cows and smaller videos not cooperating, that's just a couple of them. I've done all sorts of stuff behind the scenes that admittedly did save us time on harvest prep, but that stuff, it takes time, and it just doesn't justify making a video out of. So all that just kind of comes together. But now that this is done, this is kind of the last of our time-sensitive projects. And since the cattle have been worked, last year we didn't work them until early December. So that's out of the way here in mid-November. We're good. We've always got something else to do, but I should be freed up now. I can take the time and get the camera out and get some videos made for you, because some people, I think, actually like this channel. You're weird if you do, but I do appreciate you sticking around to the end. I am going to get off of here. We're going to start getting equipment shuttled home and get everything kind of put away, tidied up. Then we got to turn around and get winter prep out of the way, because next week, Thanksgiving, I think Thanksgiving is next week, and it's supposed to start doing sleet and snow and stuff like that, so and getting like actually cold instead of being 60s and 70s during the day. So we got to do winter prep, and there's all sorts of other little things that I can mess with. And I've got some big videos planned for you guys that you'll really like. More, and when I say big videos, I don't mean videos that are an hour long, like this one probably is. I mean real videos that you'll find interesting. That New Holland Swather is going to be the subject of one of them. But those videos will take a little bit to come out. So just if you just continue being patient with me, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm going to get off here. Again, thank you guys for watching. I will be out with something else in the future. Stay tuned and take care.